This video contains 4 short walks. All of these walks are under 90 minutes, including any water or snack stops. We call these pre-dinner walks, perfect for a spring, summer or autumn late afternoon. So let's get out there. On your approach from the motorway, opposite the Sepobla turn-off, this is how you will first see the parking for Ses Ufanes. It is close to the church San Miguel. Here, there's parking for about 6 cars, and you try to keep tucked into the right-hand side as much as possible. Located approximately 2 kilometres from Campanet, St Miguel Hermitage is a simple single-nave Gothic-style church dating from the 13th century. The first documentation of its existence was in 1248. Originally built on top of a Moorish mosque, this church is one of the oldest on the island. It also has a cafe that serves drinks and snacks from about springtime, but certainly during the warmer months. So we just walk through this area now, back to the main road and turn left. So we just have to walk up this road about 100 metres and the foot gate should be on our left. After a couple of minutes up the road, we get to the foot gate of Ufanes. After about 8 minutes of walking from the entrance to Ufanes, you'll reach this track junction here. You have a choice. It loops round and the fonts are in the far right hand corner. So if you go this way, up the little hill there, the highest point is at the top of that hill, and then you can gradually make your way down here, or if you go to my left, your right, down that track, you'll gradually start to ascend through the forest up to the high point there. So it's entirely up to you. I like to go down the left hand side. Over to the left here, you can see the summits of Puig Tomier and Puig and those surrounding mountains. During heavy rainfall, they divert all of the water from their massive catchment areas down into the stream valley which feeds Ufanes. All the time the water's coming down, it's sinking into the ground. So, after about 50 minutes of walking, we enter through these gates into this lovely holm oak forest. After about 5 or 6 minutes after entering the forest, you'll come across the information centre, which has toilets. And the doors usually open for that particular reason. We need to just go down there ahead of us to that signpost in the distance. 50 to 100 metres from the information centre is what all the locals come here a couple of days after heavy rainfall in the hope that they're going to see this wondrous phenomenon. From here and from here, which is the main source. When activated, the Font Sea Ufanes are a hydrological sensation. This only happens when there is a couple of days of intense rainfall, particularly in the catchment areas of the Puig Tomier, Puig
and surrounding hills. Water is absorbed through porous limestone and accumulates in huge underground chambers. As these chambers fill, the pressure of this water escalates, and when it reaches a critical point, it is pushed to the surface with a gigantic force and immense volume, creating this phenomena. At their peak, they can expel up to 3,000 litres a second. Across from the stream bed, you will see this, a charcoal burner's hut, and this, it's a sitcha, or a burning mound, where they made charcoal.
Take about 30 seconds to explain on one of my other videos, the Caimari to Juk monastery walk, on how a sitcha is built and what it's for. We're just about to leave the forest on the upper end now, so back to the car, probably 15 to 20 minutes. See you there. Hi there. So yeah, here we are. We've arrived at the recreation area, which is also where we're going to park the car for these two short summits on the Santa Magdalena. The first one is Puig de Sant Sastre, which has a hermitage and a restaurant on top. And the second one is the Puig de Santa Magdalena, which has a stone cross and a trig point, which you can see beautiful views across the central plain. Yeah, they're not very difficult. It's an easy walk. It's one of those ones that gets you an appetite just before your evening meal. So let's go on and I'll try and take you around them.
After negotiating the array of hairpin bends, you will arrive at a recreation area at an elevation of 258 metres. The recreation area, which on a weekday has ample car parking. But I do stress weekday because on weekends between the months of October and May, locals from Inca and surrounding villages use this space en masse to enjoy picnics and barbecues with their families and friends. It has around 20 fire pits, a dozen picnic tables and numerous flat areas for tables and chairs.
So after leaving the car park, in a couple of minutes you'll come across these steps in front of us. This is the steps up to the hermitage. There's 84 of them. I know, I've counted them.
The ermita de Santa Magdalena was built on the summit of the Puig de Sant Sastre, otherwise known as the Puig de Santa Magdalena, at an altitude of 287 metres. It dates back to the 13th century. Since its construction, it has served as a monastery, convent, grammar school and a church. Opposite the ermita is a popular restaurant which serves traditional Mallorcan dishes.
From the restaurant you can have wonderful views over Inca and the central mountains. One suggestion is when we're leaving the site, you go down via the road, which will take us back to the bottom of the steps. Some beautiful scenery around. Let's go. About a minute down from the car park, looking left, we're greeted with some magnificent views. Right out to the Bay of Alcudia, the mountains of the peninsula of Alcudia. Right through the middle there is the Bay of Palencia and a bit of the central plain,
pan right round the Sierra Tramontana. How wonderful is that? Is our second objective of the day, the Puig de Santa Magdalena. So, just now going to approach the steps. So the whole circuit, really, from going up the steps to the top, around and back, if you were continuously walking, would take you about 10 minutes. That's maximum. So here we are back at the steps. So what we need to do now is to go down the road about 50 meters. As soon as the recreation area starts, we veer off left and pick up a wide track that will lead us up to the Puig de Santa Magdalena. Okay, let's go. After leaving the recreation area, we pick up this track, and it's with us here for probably about another 5 or 6 minutes until we come to a white signpost. Looking back, after a few minutes, we can see Bay of Alcudia and the Alcudia Peninsula, and that is Port Alcudia. So as I said, 5 or 6 minutes after leaving recreation area, come to this signpost. This is where we have to go right up these rocks that will lead us to the cross. Just a thought, even though it's not a high mountain and you're never really in an exposed situation, the path is still quite rocky, so I think if we're wearing stout shoes, it'll be much more comfortable. Almost at the summit, but look at this beautiful, beautiful view across the central plain here. And vineyards down at the bottom, and right over to the Peninsula of Arta, and once again to the Bay of Alcudia. How beautiful is that? After about 50 minutes of leaving the recreation area on the second summit, you're indeed approaching the cross. Here we are. We've reached the cross on the Puig de Santa Magdalena. Let's go around the other side and see what we can see.
Creu del Minyó is a stone cross erected to Christ the Redeemer in 1901. It stands close to the summit of the Puig de Minyó, also known as the Puig de Magdalena. The nearby trig point stands at 307 metres. In the past, the cross has been destroyed twice by lightning. It was last restored in 1971.
There you can see some of the hills of the central plain, and as we pan round to the right, over there in the distance is the holy mountain of Randa, and I have got a separate video that does climb to the top of that one. There, we're just looking back to the cross from the trig point, just to give you some perspective on how close they are together. So, all that's left now is to retrace our steps back down this footpath to the sign, take a left onto the track, back to the recreation area and your car. Probably 10 minutes.
This is the car parking for the recreation area. It has spaces for about 10 cars. These gates would normally be closed, and entry is through the foot gate on the right.
After entering through the gates, after about a minute, you'll come to this area.
This is the recreation area, and I think it's quite obvious where the track goes. It goes out the back of these barbecue pits here. It climbs from there, so that's where we need to go. So this is one of those starts to a walk that gives you a bit of a cardiovascular workout. It's quite steep for the first 50 minutes until you hit the col up here. But hey, it's good for the heart, yeah? Every now and then, looking back where we come from, you can see glimpses of the surrounding countryside. So, after about 18 minutes of leaving the car park, we've arrived at the col. Here we have a choice. If you want to extend your walk, you can take the track that leads up that way to a viewpoint, and so it says an ermita, although I've been up there a few times and I can't see any evidence like stonework of an ermita at all. Or our track goes down, it's a wide track, goes downhill here, anti-clockwise round, and comes out this track here, about 30-35 minutes. Okay? So this earthen track descends slightly steeply for probably about 10 minutes. After about 5 minutes down from the col, the steepness of the track starts to relent a bit, and it's much easier to walk on. After 25 minutes of walking from the recreation area, come across this hairpin bend in this minor road. If you go down, that's the Coma D'en Miarata. That way, we need to go up the hill, up there. About 30-35 minutes into the walk, the path here takes a sharp right-hander. Again, looking back from where we've come from, it's a lovely view across the valley to Mancor de Vell. So after about 35-36 minutes, most of the climbing is over. Apart from the odd little undulation, it's mostly flat, and then we're going to start going downhill back to the recreation area. So, we're completely flattened off now. We're virtually on the top of this hill, just traversing round to get back to the col where we would descend back down to the recreation area. After about 30 minutes on the footpath Miarata, we have returned to that col. So all that's left now is to take a right-hander and descend to the recreation area. Well, here we are at the car park and recreation area, so Coveta Negra. This is where the walk will start from, and we need to exit through the recreation area up there. Let's go. This gravel track here will be with us for a good 15-20 minutes before we turn off of it at one of the major hairpins. After about 12 minutes of walking on a bend, you'll come across this. This is a charcoal burner's sitja, or burning mound. And a couple of minutes later, we'll come across this crag with a plaque. Now the sitja and the plaque, I've explained in a little bit more detail in another video that I've done, and that is the walk from Caimari to Juk Monastery. Check it out. After about 20 minutes into the walk, we have a track junction. The track that we're on goes up there, and that's the way to the Col de Pattaya and eventually Juk Monastery. But we want this track down near that sign. So I've heard shots here most Sunday mornings, so to me that's the only time that they can hunt, so I avoid this walk on Sunday mornings. So we're approaching these little cairns here, which signify a path going up into the valley. This is not the path we want. It's the one that you can go to climb Esgrau, Caragola, and that leads you to the Col de Linia, which is at the foot of the Massanea. But we want to go today up that way, still keeping to this wideish track. After 25 minutes of leaving the car park, the track stops, and this is where our footpath begins, gradually up to the col. Obviously, after a damp period, these rocks can get a bit slippery. So this is another reason I like going up this way rather than coming back down, because you're in much more control, obviously. After about 35 minutes of walking, we come to this little rocky steep section. It's not very far, it's about 20 metres, and that leaves us probably 15 minutes to the col, which is our objective. So after about 42 minutes of walking from the car park, we're reaching the top of the col here. It's probably 8 minutes from those steep rocks, but I said it was 15, so it all depends how fast you walk, I suppose. But yeah, so this is the highest point we're going to go today on this walk. So this is why this little walk today is worth it, just the views that you can get from the col. So we're looking at that big one there is Caragola, you remember the snail, and then the triangular one just there is Esgrau, and if we pan right round we can see the alley, which is probably 1,200 meters, if I can remember. But this is the col which you would start to climb Dali from, virtually go straight up there. And that's a tough hour. The summit is near that breche and the big block. Virtually opposite the track you entered the col on, the track down is opposite. And it's about 25 minutes, hopefully back to the car park. After passing that situ on the left, don't get drawn down too quickly. You can see some flat rocks. You need to just mount those flat rocks and go along for about 30 seconds on these flat rocks. You should see this sort of a tree that looks like it's been hit by lightning. Then you have a look left and you can see the track going down. And here's a little rocky section which is not too steep and turns right at the bottom. Once we get to this tree that seems to have bridged our path here, I think the path gets a lot more like a Land Rover track. The path gradually wends its way down into this valley here, back to the car park. As I said, about 25 minutes, half an hour after leaving the col, we get down, meet the road, and all that's left now is to go down the road about 100 metres and we're back at the car. So, I hope you enjoyed that little excursion. It's about an hour and 15 in total. If you did enjoy it, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Although these are short walks and not too strenuous, they all have something different to offer, and they will, I'm sure, fill a small niche somewhere in your walking itinerary. If these short walks interest you, look out for more short walk videos in the future.